I would like to ask the Chief Minister if he will make a statement on plans to ensure the supply of essential foodstuffs in the event of a hard Brexit.
Chief Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I assume that by a hard Brexit the Honourable Member is referring to a no-deal Brexit. Members will recall I answered a similar question on food supply in August and on supply chains in general last week. I can reiterate that the situation is as follows. The UK Government has stated that it expects there will be an adequate supply of food in the United Kingdom in the event that the UK leaves the EU without a deal. We are aware of UK Government analysis that there may be an issue at key channel crossings of Dover and Eurotunnel, and this would primarily impact the availability of some fresh fruit and vegetables. It is important to remember that the provision of food is a commercial enterprise. As such, officers from the Brexit team and the Cabinet Office and the Department for the Environment, Food and Agriculture have been working closely with local food retailers as well as with UK officials to ensure all risks are fully understood and mitigated as far as possible. We are not expecting a shortage of food in the Isle of Man. We may, however, notice some changes. There may be changes to the types of food available on the shelves in a similar manner to that in the UK. This is likely to be most notable in respect of fresh foods that are transported across the Channel on a just-in-time basis. If anything, Mr. President, the Honourable Member for Castletown and Malew, his question highlights the importance of us all buying Manx produce, supporting our farmers, fishermen and all food producers, helping the multiplier effect on the island, lowering our carbon footprint and also, as the Honourable Member for Council, the Lord Bishop would say, ensuring that as much of our daily bread as possible is produced here on the island.
Supplementary, Mr. Moorhouse.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Chief Minister, for that quality answer. A majority of the island's food is currently supplied by UK retailers, whose key priority after a no-deal exit will potentially be to serve the large UK conurbations. Given that possibility, have discussions taken place with local retailers and Irish suppliers to ensure an alternative source of key foodstuffs for island residents are available at short notice?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to slightly disagree with my honourable colleague. I always try to be positive in questioning with him, but I'm going to disagree that no, I think all discussions we have had with industry points to the Isle of Man retailers accessing UK supplies on an equal footing to UK retailers. Now, many retailers are also integrated into the UK supply chains or have sister or parent companies in the UK, and so will be included within their preparation. For example, one of our big multinational companies that imports food into the Isle of Man, the Isle of Man depot, is part of at least 4 other regional areas, and therefore they don't say, well, we're not going to put to the Isle of Man, we're just going to cover these areas. We're part of a system, not on our own, and therefore these are reassurances that we have been given. The Isle of Man therefore does not face any additional disadvantages because of the additional ferry crossings our food has to make. Of course, inclement weather can affect deliveries, but we are accustomed to periodic interruption of sailings.
Supplementary, Mr. Hooper.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd just like to ask the Chief Minister what specific work has been done in respect of gluten-free foodstuffs. So obviously, you can't get these on prescription anymore, the argument being they are widely commercially available, and it's unlikely that, because the market for these products is quite small on the island, that commercially firms may decide, actually, I'd rather bring over the more commercial products rather than these less commercial products. Has the government given this any particular thought? Has any provision been put in place? Can you just reassure the people that need to buy these types of gluten-free products for health and medical reasons they'll still be able to access them post-no-deal Brexit, should that occur?
Minister.
Thank you, and I thank the Honourable Member for raising a very valid point, and I'm sure these have been dealt with by officers. I can't give them, because I personally haven't seen that information, but again, I don't envisage any change, Mr. President, of the normal food that comes to the Isle of Man. It may be different brands, it may be a certain fresh fruit type, but I'm more than happy to look into his comments regarding gluten-free.
Dr. Allinson, supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank the Chief Minister for his quite comprehensive answer. The question was about essential foodstuffs. And would he agree with me that it's essential that we use as much as possible local foodstuffs, and we remember about seasonal produce and rely on that a little bit more than imports coming in from other countries? Would he also agree that because of the very nature of our island population, we are used to having shortages at time to time for what may be seen as luxuries, and that what we need to do over the coming months with the uncertainty of Brexit is actually adapt and survive rather than necessarily panic and try to carry on with what can be sometimes a bit of an unsustainable way of buying products from elsewhere? Thank you, Mr. President.
Right, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wholeheartedly agree with the Honourable Member for Ramsey, Dr. Allinson, with his comments. I think I alluded to part of that at the end of my answer, where I mentioned lowering our carbon footprint, and buying local ticks all our boxes. We've asked Professor Curran to do a report into how we can reduce our carbon footprint, and quite honestly, Honourable Members, buying raspberries from Israel at Christmas time to me seems bizarre. I've been eating strawberries that were seasonal in the last couple of months, just at the tail end now, and they've gone, but the flavour of locally produced produce is so much better rather than growing things out of season. And maybe we, as a parliament and as a nation, should look to eating things when they are seasonally in, so that we don't take them for granted, and it will help the environment and our economy. Thank you.
Final supplementary, Mr. Moorhouse.
Thank you, Mr. President. I fully agree with what the Chief Minister has suggested. I do, however, recognise that companies, when faced with limited supplies and rising costs, will look towards their local markets. Will the Chief Minister and his team be prepared to look beyond Westminster and the expected in this case?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. I can only reiterate that as we've done with the health service, just to reassure the member, that it has been agreed that whilst we are our own nation, our own parliament, Mr. President, it has been agreed that for medicines, for example, and food, that we are part of the UK food chain, and we will not be at the end of the line. We don't have depots that just deal with supplies just to the Isle of Man for our big retailers, our supermarkets. I'm trying to avoid naming them, but we all know who they are. And they have assured us, when officers have spoken to them through DEFRA and the Cabinet Office, that the Isle of Man will not be singled out as, well, we'll leave them and we'll just sort out the rest of those areas. Now, as I say, these meetings have taken place, and I have to trust the word that is what will happen. And regarding medicines, I have written confirmation, and the Minister for Health and Social Care has met with his UK counterpart in this last week to confirm such.